Every day I come, I spend some time looking at it from different aspects. This is the Tree of Hope. It's about explaining itself. It's about the refugee camp in Jordan. It's the second in the world, I believe. And it's done by one of our associates, Mr. Lukas. Thank you very much. Can you please rise? We want everybody to see you. This is him. This is when we say caring is sharing, sharing is caring. This is the best example. He did this beautiful work, and we displayed here to actually also to signify and to emphasize our commitment to this very sad case which is happening around us. It is a wake-up call, yes, like you said in my office, but I don't know how many wake-up calls we're going to receive, because now you have the Syrian, and then you have the Afghan, and you have many. Actually, we are living with the refugees of the Palestinians for more than 65 years. But I would like to give the floor to you, Lukas. You want to present to the audience another friend who is actually doing something really impressive. So I would like to, you please take the mic and introduce our friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Shall I stand up? I'm quite tall. I could stand up. Good afternoon. Well, as you heard, me and my colleagues, Hannes, who is here with me as well, an artist as well, we are responsible for initiatives like the one you see here in the background. We dedicate our work as artists to interpretation of values in cooperation with children and young people. So what you see in this picture, it's a real staged picture which results out of a more week process in the Satari refugee camp where this picture is done. And this is also the gentleman I'm going to introduce you after a second. You'll find him in the middle of the image on the container. It is Mr. Kilian Kleinschmidt. And at that time he was the camp manager. Of course, you need to associate in projects like this a lot of different unities to be able to do this and to be able to directly work with the children. And this is the main hope of our initiative, which started years ago when I asked myself, do I know what is written in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? I have to admit, I didn't know at that time, and I started to investigate and read it, and I found out that there's very rare visuals which had been done or which are used to promote those values of the Declaration of Human Rights, as it is of the human rights. So this was a point of departure when we started the translation of the 30 articles with the township school in Johannesburg. So the whole initiative started to grow. We established an initiative of international artists called the Let the Children Play. So it's a group of artists who interfere and go directly into these areas. We develop workshops with the children. Our projects grow through the work with the children. So what you see here, like it was mentioned before, in the shape of a tree, was of course our main goal to show something positive as long as it is possible. Mr. Kleinschmidt will tell you afterwards his approach is the one that I learned as well. This is not a refugee camp, it is a settlement. So it is something that will stay for long years, and we all know that. And the settlement needs growth, and the symbol for growth, which was developed with the children, was a tree. Therefore you discover a tree here, and it probably is one of the rare images which shows a positive impact of a refugee settlement, but which was used for all kind of campaigns of UNHCR or Save the Children, etc., to promote the values of children and the importance that we think about these children as about all the other children, of course. I mentioned just a fast story that happened in this camp, which for us, of course, was a new experience as well, but it made me understand very much about what we're dealing with. As our central goal is to deal about the importance of play and education with children. We were working with a group of children in this camp because you cannot work with 60,000 children, and this is the number of children who are living in this camp. So we were working in these child-secure areas with a group of children, and we had a lot of other children outside, and they started to throw stones at us. Of course, in the beginning, we didn't right know how to handle that or what this is about, and we took the decision. Well, we opened the gates of this fence around, so we were playing inside a fence, the symbol of the fence in our days. We don't have to develop here. So we opened up the gates, and what happened was that all the kids outside just dropped their stones, ran in to this zone, screaming because they just wanted to play. And I think this is the thing we should not forget. This is what children should do. They should play and have a positive life. And this is something what we found with Kilian as a camp manager, who made this a core element of all his work. But I think he should talk about this himself, Kilian Kleinschmidt. Thank you very much.
Director General, ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday. Let us start with the simple things. That is, congratulations for the work OFID has done over decades. Over decades, helping the people of the world to develop, to thrive, to progress. However, today we have come with the children of a refugee camp in the middle of Vienna, in the middle of one of the most developed countries of the world, one of the richest countries of the world, and here we stand with the children who represent over 30 million children in the world currently displaced. Most of these children without any real perspectives for their future, without any prospects to go to a proper school, to educate, to learn a skill, and to be part of a world which in fact has the resources for everyone. Until a bit more than a year ago, I was the manager of this camp, Zaatari in northern Jordan, 12 kilometers away from the Syrian border, 12 kilometers away from one of the most brutal conflicts of the world, which has produced to date more than 4 million refugees, millions of people cut from humanitarian support to a large extent, being trapped and actually experiencing the worst which can happen. What the people in this camp have taught me is the thrive of everyone in this world for dignity. Dignity which doesn't mean to be recipients of charity. They rebelled. I was called in this camp as a troubleshooter, as a manager to get rid of daily violence amongst the people, against the aid workers, against the Jordanian police and authorities. I was called in there because the people rebelled against something they felt was taking away the last of dignity which was remaining to them. Charity, distributing aid every day, 2,100 calories, 18 liters of drinking water per person, 4.5 square meters of tentage or caravans, containers. This is what we, the world community, we give people to survive. They didn't want to survive. They wanted more. They wanted to be respected as human beings. That was the daily struggle against what they felt was further dehumanizing. Queuing up for food is fine when you come out of a crisis. But it is not fine anymore when you're trying to build up a new life. Going to a supermarket, and this is what we did in this camp, with people equipped with smart cards to make their own choices of that, what would they eat tonight, that is dignity. So the 21st century can do better work than just distributing cheap charity. The children of Zaatari taught us that one of the most shocking consequences of displacement and poverty is that children lose their childhood. The children lose their capacity to actually act as children. I think I will horrify you if I'm telling you that those we considered as our worst enemies in the beginning of this camp in 2012 and 13 were the children. The children were dangerous. The children were throwing stones, as Lukas was mentioning. The children were running after us, throwing tentage parts as spears after us. We were running. Why? Because the children had lost any trust in the world. The children were abused. The children had lost anything what was remaining of society. Reference to what a normal world is about, what a normal childhood is about. And that's what we have to keep in mind in anything we are doing, is that through the eyes of the children we will see the suffering of the people. Again, 30 million of the 60 million displaced and refugees to date in the world are children. Hundreds of millions of children live in poverty. Dozens of millions are hungry. This cannot be. It can only be that we share our resources in a more clever and in a more modern way to date. Not a bad development. A lot of these children we see here have probably made their way to Europe to date. Also in this camp, although we started treating people as human beings, refugees as human beings, which is not always the case in humanitarian action, even there, lack of perspectives, lack of hope, the lost generation of the 21st century is not only there in Syria and those who have been receiving the children of Syria, it is everywhere in the world. So what we need to thrive for together with what we can do is to provide that perspective to those who matter for our future. Our world will break if we do not share. My appeal here is get away from charity, move towards a sharing economy. Not only charity through donations, but also sharing of the know-how, of technologies, sharing of what we have learned. There is a solution to any of our problems somewhere in the world, and we must actually work in a direction where we can share that knowledge in a more structured way. Look around you here, again, in this beautiful city, in this beautiful building, certainly with a history. What have we learned? We do have an answer. And out there, somewhere, and many of you know that better than me, although I've worked for 25 years in the nightmares of the world, in the consequences of failed diplomacy and failed attempts to reach consensus and friendship amongst people. You know that as well. Out there, right now, the world is unjust. And we can do a lot more to change that. And again, your organization has achieved a lot. Your organization will achieve a lot. Your organization will do more, but we can only do that all together as the world community. Thank you very much. Think about the children. not only of Zaatari, think about the children of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Last.